In this video we're going to see how to work with bands and fields in the modeler and in the batch processing interface. Bands and fields are a very particular type of input because, if you remember, they depend on other inputs. Bands depend on raster layers and fields depend on tables or the attribute table of a vector layer. So we're going to see how to handle them and how to use them when we're working with the modeler or we are working with the batch processing interface. I'm going to open the toolbox here. I'm going to use an algorithm, look for an algorithm that uses bands. Here we have this one, unsupervised classification. And I'm going to execute it. I'm going to run it using the batch processing interface. Here I have the batch processing interface, and I see that one of the inputs is called bands. I can just directly type here the input that I want here, which is the name of the file and then the band that I want to use, or I can better click here and select the bands in this new dialog. I can select the layer here. I'm going to select this detail elevation model, which contains this one band, and now you see I have another field here called band, and if I click here I will see this new dialog, and instead of just one I see a big list with a large number of bands. This is because I'm not opening this layer, so I cannot know in advance how many bands are in this layer. In fact, even if I do not select anything here, I can select the band here. And this is because there's no relation right now between the band and the layer, because I'm not taking the information about how many bands are available. I'm not taking that information from the layer because I'm not opening it. What happens is that I can select here the band that I want, or several bands, and then I select the file here, and then when I execute the algorithm at runtime, Sextant is going to check if that is possible. If I have this 1, 2, and 3 bands, if I have this 3 first bands in this raster layer. If not, it will show a warning and it will not execute this algorithm because the information that I provided is not correct. Let's now check another algorithm that uses just one single band, not a multiple input, not a set of bands, and DVI. In this case, you see I have to select one layer here and then just one band. Even if I haven't selected a layer here, I can select the band here. And as happened before, I have a list, a large list of bands, and I can select the one that I want, but right now it's not checking anything. It will check it at runtime. Something pretty similar happens with fields. I'm going to execute this algorithm, the inverse distance weighting, and you see I need a point layer that I can select as usual, and then I have to select one field from this layer. But when I select the layer here, Sextant is not opening it, so it's not giving me any information about the fields available in this layer. I just can type here directly the name of the field. For example, if I know that there's a field named elevation, I just type elevation here. But as you see, there's no list of all the available fields because we don't know that in advance. Once again, once I execute the algorithm, it will check for that field, and in case it cannot find that field, a field with this name that I typed in here, in case it cannot find that field, it will complain and it will show an error message and will not execute this algorithm. Now let's see how to work with bands and fields in the modeler. You open the modeler interface, and I'm going to make a very simple model here, add in one raster layer, and then executing the slope algorithm on that layer. You see now I have two raster layers available here. The first one is the raster layer that the user will select, and the other one is the one generated by the slope algorithm. This layer generated by the slope algorithm will always have just one band, and in case there are more bands in this input layer, it will just use the first one. So I have one multiband, possibly multiband layer here, and one monoband, single band layer in here. Now let's execute the raster calculator. You see I have layers available here, and I have slope with just one band because I know for sure that this layer is going to have just one band, and I have many bands here available just as it happened when I was using the batch processing interface. And the first one is, I'm sure that I'm going to have that one because at least one band is needed. It's needed in any raster layer. But starting from the second one, I see this unchecked tag here, which means that I'm not sure if I'm going to have that layer. I can use that. I can use that in here. You see it, but I'm not sure that I'm going to be able to execute that. So right now I'm not doing any checking, but at runtime it will be checked. And in case Sextante cannot find that band, it will stop the execution of this model, and it will not process the whole model. Something similar happens with fields and vector layers. If I right now enter a field here as well, now I look for the inverse distance weighting algorithm, and here I can select the field, this field here, that is the one that the user can select, but I cannot see the fields available in this vector layer because I'm not entering any vector layer. This is the conceptual model, and I will know the fields that are available only when the user executes the model. So right now I cannot know that in advance. So in case I want to use any other field apart from this one selected by the user, I have to directly type the name here. And once again, Sextante will check for the existence of that field at runtime, and if it cannot find that field, it will stop the execution of the algorithm.